Hello, sixth graders. I'm here. Except today we're going to try something new. It's not ideal, but hopefully you can kind of bear with me. Obviously, if we were in school, I'd be doing this on the Elmo. You know the idea. And you've watched a couple of clips about the Colosseum. Today, hopefully you watched it already. The vocabulary for ancient Rome is about Spartacus. And if you remember, one of the first assignments that we did talked about the class structure. And so many of the people in Rome were slaves. Only the problem is they didn't even count as people. And whenever the Romans would attack and capture another country or more land, they would capture the people and bring them back and often sell them as slaves. And then, as you know, they were just considered property. And if a slave looked healthy and strong and everything else, somebody might buy that slave and actually make them a gladiator. They would go to gladiator school, and then, of course, they would fight in the Colosseum, and people would bet on the gladiators. And it was kind of like owning a sports team. And there were all different types of gladiators. Well, Spartacus was a gladiator who was captured from another place, and he and the other gladiators, as you well know, broke free and then went all over Italy, kind of wreaking havoc on Italy and burning it and attacking it. They were there for a couple of years until Spartacus was finally caught. And the vocabulary has everybody saying, no, I'm Spartacus, I'm Spartacus, I'm Spartacus. The legend has it, or story has it, that when they caught all of Spartacus and all of the other escaped gladiators and slaves that joined him, that they asked who Spartacus was. Remember, there was no media or no TV back then. And Spartacus identified himself and said, I'm Spartacus. Well, everybody was so loyal to him that they didn't want him caught that somebody else stood up and said, no, I'm Spartacus. And then somebody else said, no, I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. And everybody claimed to be Spartacus. And their punishment was they were all killed. They were all crucified, right? Crucifixion was a common way of executing people back then, just like Jesus was, but it was more common. So today I'm going to read you wouldn't want to be a Roman gladiator. And when I'm finished with this, the final thing you need to do, you watch the vocabulary, do this, and then the final thing is, I just want a little reflection about what you think of the Colosseum and what took place inside of it. The building itself is incredible. I hope you've gathered that from the videos that you've watched. What took place inside of it was appalling, shocking, actually, really, to think that people could watch people be killed and watch people kill each other and cheer for it. Pretty appalling. So just give me your thoughts on it. So here we go. You wouldn't want to be a Roman gladiator. I apologize if you can't always see the picture so clear. I'll do my best. All right, first of all, give you a little background. It is the 1st century AD, so right after Jesus was crucified, and you live in a village in the Roman province of Gallia, it's actually France, which covers a large area of northern Europe. You don't like the Romans much. Nobody did. And they don't like you or your people. The fact is, the Romans invaded your territory more than 100 years ago, as they have done in many places, to build up the huge Roman Empire. They plan on ruling over you for a long time. To come and say your people are uncivilized. They call you barbarians, meaning that you are different from them. The Romans believe they are much better than you. From time to time, some of your people pick a fight with the Romans, but you're no match against the Roman army. If you're not killed in battle, don't expect to be shown any mercy. You'll be taken prisoner and marched off to the city of Rome. If you survive the long journey, you face an uncertain future. Will you be sold as a slave to a rich Roman citizen? Or will you be sent to work in the mines? Will you end up doing hard labor in the quarries? Or will you sail around the Roman Empire as a galley slave? That's the bottom of a ship. Your fate is out of your control, but you can be sure of one thing. You wouldn't want to be a Roman gladiator. All right, so some of the slaves were purchased and forced to be a gladiator. The Roman army has invaded, I'll call it France. The Romans want to make it part of their growing empire, but first they must defeat troublemakers. The Gauls, the people of Gallia, France, live in many different tribes. Some tribes are happy for the Romans to be their rulers, but others fight them. The Roman soldiers wear armor and follow a carefully worked out battle plan. The Gauls fight bare-chested and are not as well organized. The fighting is soon over, and unfortunately for you, your tribe loses the battle. Conquered, captured Gauls have their weapons taken away, and the fittest become prisoners of war. You are one of the prisoners, and you are about to begin a new life. Not one you want. After capture by the army, you are passed on to a slave dealer who buys and sells slaves. The dealer takes you to a slave market where you stand on a platform for everyone to see. Slaves with diseases are made to hold a sign so that people know there's something wrong with them. Chalk dust is sprinkled on your feet as a sign that you are a slave. The slave dealer asks people to call out prices, and he will sell you to the person who pays the most. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not reading all the other things, but of course, they're interesting. Slaves can be any type of slave. And again, you're just property. You are now the property, so you don't count as a person. A wealthy Roman citizen. He's decided you will be sent to Ludus Gladiatorius, a school where slaves, criminals, and other wretches are trained to fight as gladiators. Once inside, the gates will be locked and there will be no escape. You'll be trained to fight by a butcher, an old gladiator whose fighting days are over. And of course, just some of the other gladiators. I'll try to show you some of the pictures. Training doesn't end when you hang up your sword at the end of the day. You'll go back to your barracks, a long wooden building. This is where you'll eat or sleep. And you'll be locked in at night. Your trainer will come to and watch over you as you eat specially prepared food, gladiator food. The trainer thinks of the men in the barracks as his family, so he will make sure you are taken care of. After all, they do want to be strong enough to fight. All right, so there they are, right? Some other special privileges that they get. But it's no use trying to escape. Since the gladiator school is surrounded by high walls and fences, you won't be able to climb over them without being spotted by the security guards. But if you attack a staff member, you will be punished. The school has a prison, a dark, rat-infested hole where prisoners are, shackled and chained to the walls. If you're unlucky enough to be locked inside, eat whatever the guards give you. It might be days before you get your next rotten meal. Now remember, this is only if you cause trouble. And that's what's so amazing is the fact that Spartacus broke out. It's the only gladiator that they ever know of that ever broke free. All right, when your training is over, it's time for you to face the toughest challenge of your life. Your owner will take you, together with his other gladiators, to perform in the games. You will arrive in town the day before the games begin to have time to recover from the journey. That night you will be treated to a splendid meal. Enjoy it. It might be your last. On the day of the games, you will march into the arena and parade before the emperor. Remember, you are a gladiator. Do not show any fear. There is silence as you call out your traditional words spoken by the gladiators, which is usually, "Hail Caesar, we who are about to die salute you." That's what I'm reading right there. And this is when the bedding and everything else could take place. In your training, you will have learned how to fight as one particular type of gladiator. Perhaps you were trained to fight as a lightly armored, rotarius, netman. And that was in your other video. Or maybe your skills as a chariot fighter will be called upon. It has cost your owner a lot of money to buy you, feed, train, equip you for the contest. Yeah, now you must be victorious. Winning is all that matters. If you lose, you die. So be brave. Fight, conquer, and live. All right, and at the bottom are just some of the different gladiator types. And what they did is they mismatched them. In other words, they never fought somebody that was the same, but usually one had a strength and one had kind of a weakness. The net guy didn't have a lot of protection, but he had a net. Somebody who had a lot of protection might have a really short sword or weapon. And so it's kind of one thing offset the other. The games are about to begin. Your moment of glory is upon you, you hope. But first you must entertain the crowd by fighting with blunt wooden swords. Music sounds, your practiced sword is taken from you and replaced with the real thing. You are about to fight for your life. But it is not just your opponent you have to worry about. Your trainer will be watching every move. If he thinks you are not training or trying hard enough, he has a painful way of prodding you back into action. Okay, so here might be kind of a mismatch. You can kind of see it there. Bad luck. In your contest, you were drawn to fight a rotarius, a gladiator who catches opponents in his net before moving in for the kill. As you lie on the sandy floor of the arena, he brings his dagger to your throat. You must think fast. You may have only seconds to live. The crowd is on its feet, shouting, "Go get him! Let him have it!" There's only one thing you can do. Appeal to the emperor. As you raise your left hand, the emperor will just turn to the crowd and let it decide your fate. All you can hope for is that it calls out, "Let him go." And the story has it that thumbs up means let him go. Thumbs down or thumbs to the throat means kill him. So kind of here we go. A couple gladiators, and of course in this book you're going to die. And just think, people are cheering for this. People are watching this. All right, this is what you watched before. It's an amazing sight to see the arena flooded to make a lake. Water is piped in from a pool outside, and the battleships, called triremes, float gracefully across. A sea battle is about to begin, based on one fought between the Greeks and Persians 300 years ago. Hey, we learned that one. To entertain the crowd, you will dress as either a Greek or Persian. A sea battle is a great spectacle, so play your part well. Now, you know they don't all agree on this. Did sea battles really occur? And I think the kind of the consensus is maybe at the start of the Colosseum, but then not toward the end. After the sea battle, the waters drain from the arena. Another scene is set. The arena will become a park with trees, rocky outcrops, wild beasts brought from Africa. An animal hunt will take place where hunters stalk their prey. You must take care. The animals are savage, hungry beasts. The number of animals killed in the Colosseum is atrocious. Just absolutely horrific. It's over. It seems the crowd showed you no mercy, and the chariot was the winner of the contest. While your body is dragged from the arena, the victorious gladiator is presented with his prizes. At the end of the games, officials write up the record books, putting letters next to the names of the competitors. P for perished, dead. V for victor. M indicates that the gladiator lived to fight another day. And I'll tell you what they did. Oops, sorry about that. I'll tell you what they did. They just dragged. I mean, it's really quite awful to tell you this, but the bottom of the Colosseum was sand. And when the sand became too blood-soaked, they had other slaves just rake the sand out and replace it with new. Right here, they would just drag it off. And at this top box, slaves would rake the sand over to remove the blood for the next fight. And so there you have it, you guys. And that's Spartacus, a slave, right, who broke free. And so the last thing then I want you to do is you've watched Spartacus, you've watched the Colosseum, the incredible building that it is, but the less than incredible things took place inside of it, including Christians, right, that were killed simply as a punishment. And how people watched this and cheered this on is really beyond me. And so the last thing I want you to do is write a paragraph, kind of some of your closing thoughts on the Colosseum. If we were going to have a test on this, that's what I would ask you. I would say to you, tell me what you know about the Colosseum and give me your thoughts on it. So basically, I'm asking you that question. It's on the Google Doc. When you're finished, please turn it in. See ya.